continue with the first panel discussion of this year's summit. Now, this senior executives from across Asia Pacific will discuss how urban branded residences are rewriting the rules of value, the brand premium. Let's welcome to the stage our panelists, our moderator, Bill Barnett, founder and managing director, C9 Hotel Works, Jill Fisher, head of development, Asia Pacific, Six Sense. Lee Lin, Regional Director, Asia Pacific, Nobu Hospitality. Penny Trin, Vice President, Mixed Use Development, Marriott International. And Sawarin Chanpraikaisi, Vice President, Business Development, The Ascot Limited.
Thanks, Tina. Okay, well, back to real estate. It's a hard act to follow with the drums. I don't know. The coffee wasn't working for me. It's pretty crap coffee, but the drums have me working up, so I'm excited. I've got jet lag. I got up this morning and I knew I had two things to do. One was I was going to a paddle tennis, and the other I'm coming to Aries. So I got my wardrobe, a complete wardrobe malfunction. Later on, I'll be doing paddle in my suit as well, so sorry about the dress today. Let's talk about urban residences as well. I'm going to have my panel introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yao Fisher, and I head up development for Six Senses across Asia Pacific, so all markets between India to New Zealand.
Hi, I'm Lee Lin. I'm Regional Director for Nobu Hospitality across Asia Pacific as well.
Hi, I'm Penny Trin. I'm branded resi development for Marriott and APEC, slightly smaller jurisdiction than these guys.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rin. I'm from the Ascot Limited, supporting the business development, looking after Thailand and also the senior living and the branded residences.
I'm still pumping with the drumming as well. Let's talk about the subject as well, a little bit about Asia branded residents, kind of frame the discussion. These guys are going to be waiting, so we're going to go quick, and let's kind of set the view. Branded residences across, and we're going to talk about urban branded residents today. The urban branded residences pipeline, meaning projects under development and announced in the market, is about $30.7 billion, okay? It's a big market. And when we go in and we start looking at urban residences would account for about 53% of that. So it's very relevant when we're talking about that subject as well. You know, we kind of look at, let's drill one market. Let's talk about Japan. Japan for us is interesting because it's traditionally been a resort market. But all of a sudden we look at Tokyo. Tokyo is a great case of where projects have started to induce demand into an urban location, the Amman, which is coming up there. Again, it's inducing demand. If we look at Tokyo branded residences, $2.2 billion market. But the luxury market, luxury real estate is a $3 billion market in Tokyo, ultra luxury. So how many of these projects will be able to induce demand? There's always a thing we're saying, why do developers want to do urban branded residences? It's a brand premium. That's always important as well. Let's look at the Porsche Design Tower, which we worked on here in Bangkok as well. This is a project where they virtually doubled the per square meter selling prices of real estate by bringing a brand. It wasn't a hotel brand, it was an automotive brand. So these are subjects we're going to be discussing today. Today we're not going to necessarily talk about markets, we're talking about trends, the big five, right? Anybody who's gone on Uber, right? 5 stars. For some reason my Uber rating is 4.3, I don't know why, tip well. But it's trying to find the big 5 things. But I'm going to throw some topics out, and we're going to talk about the big 5. Let's talk a little about wellness, guys, because we're all talking about wellness. One of the most overused. It's like using the word future, experiential, other things like that. But wellness, what's the future of, see, even I'm using that word. You're talking about wellness in an urban setting. How would we define that, or what's the opportunity for branded residences, guys?
So from a Six Senses point of view, we categorize it into maybe 3 main categories. So the first one is the base build, then you have the fit out, and then you have the operations, right? So just to give you some examples, so all our branded residences, they do follow the same requirements as our hotel and resort products. So from a base build point of view, for example, it would be things like air purification, but it would also be things like minimizing VOCs, so like toxic materials in paints, etc. as well. So we have very strict standards around that, which tie back into this wellness element. From a fit out point of view, we're looking at things like red light therapy in bedrooms, for example, things like water filtration that includes magnesium. So there's lots of elements like that that we integrate into the residences that are becoming very important. From an operations point of view, maybe one that you haven't heard of before is we have a spiritual or well-being concierge. I think we very much live in a mental health crisis at the moment. And so we actually, there's loads of statistics out there that say that people who are more spiritually aligned, it actually increases your longevity, right? Which is, again, another buzzword that everyone's using today.
Guys?
So I totally agree that we are looking at basically physical product and also the activation. And obviously for the older product, activation and basically what is the well-being of the day-to-day operation and the resident is very important. So that's what we are focusing on at the moment.
Well, I think we're not going to pretend we're wellness experts. There's only a few in this room, aka Six Senses. And to be fair, we're looking at an average stays, to be quite short. Obviously, we're talking about branded residences today. So when it comes to offerings, Nobu as a brand, we like to talk more about mental wellness. Obviously, the environment affects so much of what you're going through today. So design, first of all, needs to be calm, needs to be zen, and that itself, it's already a starting point. But second of all, mental wellness, I think that's something we should dive in a lot more, rather than the simple passive, laying on a massage bed, getting a massage kind of thing. So obviously, where we come from is F&B. You're with your friends, you're socializing, and that's played a huge part since COVID, actually. So.
I think wellness terminology, it's been, very diverse and could be interpreted and defined in different ways. It also depends on, but I think most important of the forum today is to discuss about how the brand could be resonate in that angle. And I think for us, like for the Ascot Limited, we will definitely come in a big way in that space. People still perceive us as a service residence leader and operator, but recently we launched the theme and the concept of multi-typology of the brand, which our brand can go into resort, can go into the wellness, can go into hotel, food services, and to resonate, that is what the value of the future trend at Bill just mentioned.
I think one thing about wellness is too often people develop product. They look at product. People forget about the customer. I go to breakfast often in Bartels and whatever in Phuket, and I look at the customers, and I realize these guys all look alike. They've all, they're going to the gym, they're going to other places as well. They have the same routine every day. Wellness is incredibly important, active wellness. But I think the important part of what we're talking about in a residential aspect is understanding lifestyle. How do you connect lifestyle in your designs, and how do you bring that social element? It's a non-tangible, because socializing something is not about a product necessarily. It's about your staffing, it's about your facilities, and trying to bring people in and socializing those customers together. So there's a lot of room for movement in that. Let's also talk about non-traditional.
No, I just wanted to add something around the community element, right? And that's where their director of residences and your concierge is really important, because they need to create these community events that then tie back into the brand as well. So for us, again, sustainability is really important. So if the residents wanted to, they could go on a giving back mission together with our guests as well. So there's that element of.
Maybe let's move on to number 2, and let's talk about non-traditional hotel brands. We've got hotel, not hotel, non-traditional. We're seeing other people come in. We're seeing automotive brands. We talked about Porsche earlier as well. We're talking about other brands, fashion brands coming in the market as well. The only guys missing are 7-Eleven, which is still a great niche market. Anybody who does a 7-Eleven residences will be dynamite. But let's talk about non-traditional versus traditional brands and how you're able to compete. Lee, with Nobu, you're competing out there with the hotel brands. What's your pitch?
We've actually grown very naturally, and that transition is actually wonderful. And actually, that's one of the reasons why I brought the brand to Thailand when I was with a developer. We went from dining with us, which is our restaurants, which is now 30 years old, 60 locations in 28 countries, to hotels, which is, we're now also competing in hotel space, where we're pretty much the top performing in all the cities and resort locations we're in, and now to residences, where, one big proving point is we sold out higher than, at a price point higher than Four Seasons in Toronto. So I think that transition naturally has made us here to compete very, very well.
It talks about competition, but let's talk to the hotel guys. Disagree with them. Because at the end of the day, there's always the thing. Hotel guys will say you need the services, you need the facilities, you need the hotel brand or experience. How do you guys compete against the upcoming non-traditional hotel brands when you're talking to developers as well, taking long-term view? Penny?
Yeah, so I would break it down into certain aspects. One is a brand recognition. I mean, Marriott is the largest hotel company in the world, and Ritz-Carlton is probably the largest luxury company in the world. The brand affiliation, especially in Asia Pacific market, is very important. It's reduce the cost of developer in terms of looking toward additional sales and marketing activities. The brand standard is there. It's easy, plug and play. And then we also have more than 90 years of operational experience, so we can build on top of that. I mean, obviously on the other side, there are some inflexibility and rigidity, but that's what people feeling the comfort and don't have to reinvent the wheels.
I think from the brand, and I speak on behalf of my fellow, I think what the brand could bring on the value to the table, to the guest, to the developer is the consistency, our brand service standard, and also the security. And I think that is something that, and onwards, people still looking to get that, I think that's still the fact, that's still the trend.
Joel?
I think it's one thing about having the brand philosophy, right, which is what your consumers and your buyers buy into. However, it's then really important on how can you deliver to that brand, right? I know that there's brands out there that are branding these residences, and then they come and they say, okay, actually, we don't have an operational solution, right? Which I think is a big part of delivering the brand promise, is actually having that operational solution that is like a well-oiled machine. And for us, most of our projects are co-located with a hotel. So obviously having that all of those services available at any time is again another value add for the buyer.
Okay, so we've heard the pitch, but again, we're dealing with real estate. Real estate is resales as well. If I buy a branded residence, who's going to hold value more? Is it going to be a big hotel company, which is going to be there for a long time? Is it going to be, and hotel companies change as well. They merge, they unmerge. What happens to that brand? Or do I go with a fashion brand or automotive brand? Or I go to Nobu as well? The one thing the fashion brands do, which is excellent, is they know how to do limited edition. They know how to sell things which are collector's items. If you're going to Hermes or something else, they have customers waiting. They know their customers. It's not only about product, but is that going to also sustain through to resales? I mean, how important? It's good to talk about new projects, but when you talk to your buyers who have bought in projects afterwards and are reselling, how is that impacting the resale value with the brand, guys?
So one thing that we do focus a lot on in terms of operational aspect is the governance and asset protection. My apology. It's very similar to hotel, that we want to be able to upkeep the public space of the residential project to a brand standard, and that would really help in terms of either you want to basically pass on the real estate assets to your next generation, or basically resale. That will be basically their both services and also product quality behind it.
I think it's, whether or not you ever walk into the project that is like, not upkept and all this kind, and you can see that how the asset is look really tiring. I think what the brand could bring on to the table here is actually how the upkeep of the maintenance, of the consistency, of the regular checkup with the whole like MEP behind, and that's throughout a decade horizon, that's gonna show. So I think that's important of how the brand could be really like value added into the development.
I think maybe there's that risk piece that we're talking about, but perhaps there's also the innovation front of it all, right? Is brands, as hotel brands, we keep evolving as well and bringing more of these soft touch elements, like I was saying before, with our spiritual well-being concierge, right? That's something that we've introduced quite recently. So I think the buyers, and especially with resales as well, are set to benefit from having these new innovations being implemented.
I have a question for Lee. I mean, Nobu, I understand a Nobu restaurant. I understand the theme and everything else. For Nobu real estate, how does that resonate? How do you keep it classical, ongoing? How do you keep the brand alive in real estate, versus a hotel or versus the restaurant?
Well, we're as live as it gets because we have a restaurant, right? Versus building a residential project and putting the name on there saying, well, this is a branded residence. We always have to have a restaurant as a bare minimum. And obviously with hotel, that's usually a requirement as well. Although we're seeing some, standalone branded residences where we have another hotel in the region. So Miami, we're building the biggest tower in Miami where we have a restaurant inside. And obviously you can assure the service is going to be there. So that's why that makes a brand so valuable. And we are, as a brand, we're already recognized as one of the top luxury global brands out there. We're the most followed brand, hotel brand, on Instagram. So most Google searched. So with that already creates value, and we're already seeing, let's say, buyers who are collecting our residential products as a luxury good, if you will, cross markets, cross region, cross continents.
Maybe wrapping that up, we talk about playground cities. We talk about Miami, Dubai, Bangkok as well. These collectors of residences, they don't compare prices per square meter against a comp set. They don't go to 4 or 5 projects and say, I want to be. They look at projects across the globe. They're global buyers, and that's key to unlocking a lot of value as well. But at the end of the day, for buyers, what's going to be more important? Is it having good maintenance, having a nice building maintained, or is it going to be the lure of the brand? There's no easy subject. The one thing we know about branded residences, it's essentially a very non-standardized marketplace. From border to border, from country to country, it evolves as the real estate markets evolve as well. So it's not a standardized thinking. So a lot into play. Let's talk about hybrid living or mixed-use projects. We all talk about going back into living in gated estates or gated communities or a hybrid experience with lots of other things, or with retail as well. How do you guys see your brands integrating into those? I know you have developers that say, we want to use the hotel brand or the non-fashion brand to come in to brand the development. But then how do you extend that in a living community as well and integrate with that, guys?
In an urban setting, it's actually unavoidable in order for you to be a part of a larger mixed-use development. So now it's getting a bit more into a bit boring, but first thing first, from a legal perspective, you want to make sure that the residential unit buyer, when they buy into project, their interests are being protected. So that aspect is a lot, it's the glory thing that people don't be looking at. Second thing is that how you basically provide enough exclusivity to the residential project, but it's also integrate nicely into the entire development. So it's the engagement from the very beginning, from the design, legal perspective, is actually very important.
So for us, for example, we have our Six Senses in London opening early next year, and that is a part of an entire actually city block that's been redeveloped in Bayswater. And there we have 109 hotel rooms, 14 branded residences, and some unbranded residences as well, right? But it's creating that entire community. So it's not just about what's in the hotel, but actually we have a membership club as well, where we actually cater to that local London community. To come in, use our wellness spaces, et cetera, as well. So that creates that community element that's not just for the residents there, but also for that, larger space.
Yeah, I think to create a truly successful mixed-use project, you need to basically hit all the right anchors, right? All the top anchors that you want to bring into the project. So, for example, we actually, we have a project in Atlanta where we're working on the biggest retail group in America, Simon Group. They actually brought us in there first because most of the retail luxury brands did not believe in Atlanta as a luxury destination. So, but once Nova went in there, all the luxury brands then followed. But then, one of the most important things to this whole successful mixed-use community is actually F&B, is hospitality, is residential, is retail. And for us, we've actually transitioned, again, we're upside down business model where we came from, F&B first. So, so it's very natural for us, again, for us to hit all those keynotes when it comes to successful mixed-use development.
Yes, I think going forward, you're going to see more variety of product offerings, whether it's co-located or private residences or standalone. And it goes with what is underlying and making more sense for such location, and also the operational mechanics behind those that will make sense for guest, operator, and developer. And for us, yes, we have just signed 2 separate projects differently. One is standalone in Penang, Ascot Residences standalone, no hotel. It's going to be different from the other project. It's Ascot Patong, which is co-located. And I think back to Yale, community building is also important for the co-located project, but privacy is also important for the standalone. Depends.
I think talking about demand generators, education. I come from Phuket. We have 13 international schools. We have another 10 on the rising. These are ideal anchors as well. And you talk about the 15-minute community where people go now. They want to be near everything. And I think too often developers try to guesswork and say, we want retail. It's the same playbook. And people aren't looking at the customer experience. They're not looking when somebody has a kid in international school, where does the parent go the next day? Are they going to the office? Are they working from home? Do they go to the gym? Do they go to these other things? And tracking the experience and that journey every day of your customers also creates facilities. But having key demand generators, again, we go backwards, education, international hospitals, these things are key to what people want on a daily basis as well. So that's changing. Let's touch point on, I think we're up to 4 now, okay? Let's talk about tech in luxury or residence as well, technology. Something that too many developers do is they develop a branded unit, especially hotel guys. They come and deliver a hotel room. But that's not necessarily where people want to live. Is technology changing where people want more technology in their units, or what technology do they actually want in their residential units in an urban environment, guys?
So one of the elements that I was mentioning before, I guess, is more that technology related to wellness, right? That I think is quite important. But if you look at it more from a service angle, I mean, you want all the technology to be there to enable that connection between your home buyer and the service provider, right? However, at the same time, you want that to kind of be unseen. I think, people want, especially in the upper luxury space for us, people want that human connection, right? But they want that seamlessly. And so for us, we have a concierge app where you can directly book your maintenance, etc. But then we also have our Six Senses app where you can connect into the hotel services, right? Whether it's your in-room dining, your babysitting, your pet service, walking, etc. as well.
I think in a luxury residence setting, our very unique advantage as hospitality brands is obviously our service. And that has every single thing to do with human, right? The human touch, the human service, and that true DNA to luxury hospitality is what sets us apart and demands that price point, that premium that we're looking at, 30 to 40%, sometimes double, of the comparable products. With tech or not, I think that the human touch point is deeply important. Not to say we're not going to, look into tech, but in a way that it's only assisting us, like Yael said, behind the scenes. But what's in front of us, what we can touch, that needs to be deeply human.
Yeah, I totally agree as well in terms of one of the reasons why the customer keep coming back and staying with Marriott because of the functionality. They know exactly where things are, because everything's under the scene. But at the same time, I totally agree that the human connection from a residential project is the most important.
I agree with my panelists. I think the more we get into the digital, the more AI is going to rule the world. I think at the end of the day, human touch is still important, especially in the higher end or the luxury product. So yes, the community, and with the community, you need human to build a community. So I think keyword here is to balance, and I think our brands need to also take that strategy approach. Yeah.
I think closing on that subject is important. No two customers are the same. Luxury, you have some people who want high-touch luxury. They want a concierge. They want other people to do, or you have other enlightened customers who want to do everything themselves. So it's not the standardized thing. But consumer behavior is changing. If we would have gone back 10 years ago, you go to any residential project in the clubhouse is a financial disaster. Nobody wants to pay for it. They don't want the maintenance fees to go up. All of a sudden, we're seeing clubhouses come back. We're seeing the experiences where people work from home and they want to have a meeting. They want a meeting room. They want access to other facilities. They want to have their kids' birthday parties. So it's being reborn. So consumer behavior does change and it evolves over time. And oftentimes it goes back to where it started 10 years or 20 years ago. So cycles repeat themselves. But again, right now we're saying that facilities are important again. Clubs are important as well in residential facilities, especially with hotel brands. Maybe let's go to one final topic, which is talking about standalone residences in a community. The one thing about hotel brands or any brands is they have to continue to grow. They're listed companies. They have to have more and more and more to keep growing earnings. So in a city, when you're talking about having an urban residence, say with Marriott, when you're saying, when you're going to a city, what's your criteria for doing a standalone residence? Does it mean you have to have a hotel there, or would you going to do standalone residences? Would you do mini branded residences? How are you evaluating that consumer opportunity?
So if we for us to do a standalone project, we would like to have the hotel brand there already, because it really is help with the sale of the project, right? Because the brand affiliation and brand recognition. And then secondly, it is about economics. It is a sell at premium. And then also when we have residential moving in, what would be the common area management fee? Could be a premium to the market, but it have to be accessible. So that's kind of how we are looking at a standalone residential project.
So for us, it's really important that we actually do have a hotel, ideally co-located. We do have a project in Dubai where we were so successful with the first hotel and branded residences project that the same owner, Select Group, wanted to have a second project with us. So there we do have a standalone situation, but it's very much because we already have the existing property that's going into market. So for us, we wouldn't do standalone without that. And we just think from an upper luxury point of view, it's really important that we do have those services that we can provide to the guests from the hotel, which is much harder to deliver and much more costly as well than for the home buyers if you try to implement that in a standalone type of scenario.
Well, that's why we're not listed. So we're lucky in the way that we're private, so we're able to really choose when we plant flags and with the right partners. And obviously, that's the only way to have a successful project where you're going to build it right from the get-go. And for us, we always need to have a hotel. Obviously, Miami, we're building that because we already have another hotel within 30 minutes drive. But other than that, we always need to have a hotel, and that's where you command the value and the selling price for the developers and the ongoing value maintenance for the buyers.
I think even though it's called a standalone, but if you think along those lines, it still carry the brand's promises, delivery. So coming to like Penny or your point about like co-located or having the presence in market, that is to deliver those promises and in order to optimize the resources, synergize with the hotel instead of you having the hotel, BR branded resi standalone, but you have to carry of the staffing, of the operational costs. So that doesn't make sense to the developer in the long term.
Okay, we're almost out of time. Let's go to each of you and let's kind of ask you, you're talking to an audience of real estate developers, brokers, you're talking to those in the industry. What's your advice for urban branded residents? What's the right thing to do and what's the wrong thing to do? Guys, pitch in. We're in a hurry.
That is very broad.
I can start.
Yeah. Location. Enough economy of scale. Do your homework because, again, at the end of the day, the developer want to make return on investment. We want to earn an economic share of it, and then after that, we want to be able to provide services to the residents as to the brand standard, but also at a reasonable common area management fee. So location, do your homework, economy of scale.
I think to us is partnership. That's extremely important. Obviously, when you're going with a brand, especially if you're talking about branded residences, you're entering a more premium product, just from the get-go. It doesn't matter what segment, but especially luxury segment, you want a brand that's going to be there with you from day one until the day you sell out. Obviously, that's why they deserve that fee. And that's especially important for luxury developments because it's, versus them throwing you a brand standard book and say, good luck, we'll see you when we collect the fees. You want somebody who would be there with you, to tell you about the brands, to really work through and create a product that is truly going to, hold that value over time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, doing your homework is the number one thing. I mean, we're the service delivery experts and also touch onto that real estate side of things. But you guys in the room are actually the real estate experts, right? So it's about gathering that knowledge and ensuring that, the sales prices, the costs to operate, etc. So I agree with that point,
Yes.
definitely.
Yes. All those points valid, but what I wanted to add it quickly here is to understand your target market. Going forward, it's going to be more fragmented out there. Gen Z or new generation is going to have a lot of new patterns of traveling and also resonate with the asset that they bought or they own. So understand your target market, go with the right one, and yeah, that's all.
And I think that's where brand alignment is really important as well, right? Ensuring that brand aligns with that target market in that location. So, it's not a brand. We're not a brand that will fit everywhere as well. For example.
Maybe let me wrap that up. And my advice to developers is be brave. Don't just look at the numbers. Go beyond the numbers. Be brave. If you follow exactly what your competitor does, you're doomed to just be the same. Brave developers go out and they trust instinct. They take chances and they develop unique products. Don't try to say something. Just do what everybody else is doing. Have a brave development, because at the end of the day, developers make great projects. Not hotel companies or brands per se, but it's a partnership. But that partnership is a forward-looking developer who's a brave individual or a brave group to do something different. And if not, the other advice is go and get a drumming group as well. Bring the drummers in, and that's exciting as well to do. Thank you very much for the session today. We had a great set of panelists as well.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Speak to them during the session as well afterwards. Thanks so much.
Sorry, just one more thing. Yeah, if you're not sure, contact Bill. He would help you with a market study.
Anyway, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day.